at the back of TV GH so. And then upon day the kind of shock from TV and not any day coin so. Message of ye pass so better be a kunchino sa aso scrabby ababeka with your queen. Na me am the cassie emblem with and so and the Yamam means and acquaintance with. Yeah, quite and so now you too fine alcohol a year Assin North and net the J and Abroa a ye pomako watcher. Yeah, they by election I actually said any abasasa no ever shesu. Now we and now onimdifo bi e de abato Ghana mountain so say wale ne calculation adibi atitibi afrimu ama na hu say eye NPP omo na ombedi nkuni esan say choosing owula chasopokun air strategic na ne kasa mu na o kire say eye 2020 elections no NPP for no omo ntwisu obi a ofri Assin Bubliku ho woko Assin North eye Assin Bubliku na kire eye kula eso pa na sa okuru no omo 13 police stations you Rananado every need 12 energy question so we need 11 internet and no dia dance pe say sanka NPP for omophobia free Assin Bubliku anka ebemo mo upper hand amomo afa abano fala na so amanesa na this time there omo strategic omo de yewura chasopoku a ono so efri Assin Bubliku ho na chese de na ba bejira mu a chese ano dem pa na we chire say NPP for ebisan afa Assin North seat no na busiame ma mekasa no ye beko na yakwakotie nsem a chese wode eto Ghana mountain so.
Conversations have centered around Assin North over the past month, particularly when it became very clear that we're going to have a by-election in that constituency. And of course, Assin North is in the news because, one, if the NDC wins Assin North, it means it restores their numbers to 137. If the NPP wins, it means they get 138 plus the independent, that's 139. What that would mean is that the NPP can now actually feel that, look, we have that majority. Okay, you know what the NPP has been through when any of their members is not around, and because of 137, it's been a difficult situation for them. Now, let's look at the candidates, okay? We're looking at James Jachikwason. He won the election in 2020 with some 3,000 vote margin. But in that same election, President Akufo-Addo of the NPP also won the constituency with some 1,000 vote margin. So you can actually say that James Jachikwason won the seat with more votes than President Akufo-Addo. But for the NPP, it becomes one of those seats where you've seen a skirt and blouse situation. And they say that's an indication that we can actually win that seat. In fact, they make reference to that particular constituency being part of the 19 constituencies which President Akufo-Addo won in the 20 elections in the central region. But the NPP candidates lost. If you look at the NPP with 10 seats in the central region, coupled with the NDC's 13, and the fact that Akufo-Addo won 19 of those constituencies, you probably will be asking yourself the simple question, so what happened that President Akufo-Addo was winning in constituencies and the NPP not winning in those parliamentary elections? One thing that comes to mind, and one thing you would have seen in the Assin North constituency, is that the NPP then decides to change its candidate. Now, that is strategic. It is strategic because the NPP recognized that, look, ordinarily, Assin Bubliku would have voted for the NPP. But with the NDC fielding a candidate from that particular constituency, who was James Jachikwason in the 2020 general elections, James Jachikwason winning 12 out of the 13 polling stations in Assin Bubliku. Mind you, President Akufo-Addo also won 12 of those, polling stations. But why does it matter? It matters because in parliamentary elections, look, parliamentary elections are the elections where you look at the person standing, and that person's standing is actually known within that community. It doesn't matter whether you're a member of a political party or not. There are times that you actually vote for people based on where they come from. And that's why you would see political parties making decisions sometimes on where their candidates should come from, the identifiable groups that he could be in. You've seen political parties choosing people from settler communities just to make a difference. So what does Charles Opoku bring on board? In Charles Opoku, the NPP has a candidate who hails from the same place as James Jachikwason, and so all things being equal, could probably split the votes or even get more votes in Assin Bubliku than James Jachikwason. Now, he also, based on his philanthropic activities over the period, seems to enjoy a lot of support. Now, the NPP goes into this election with incumbency advantage. For many people, you may want to discredit it and say, well, they have the incumbency, but times are hard. But what incumbency advantage does in a by-election is that it gives you an opportunity to focus on just that constituency. And this is not a constituency that you would say is a stronghold of the NDC. For instance, so let me give a typical example. In 2006, when the NPP was in power at the time, and Professor Wayoseni had decided to, resign from the NDC, then Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. The NPP did not even go into that election. They decided to throw their weight behind Professor Wayoseni, believing that as an independent candidate he could win. Okay, now where the party knows that they are unlikely to win, they don't put much effort into it. This is a swing constituency, having been, you could actually argue, was created in 2012 more or less, because while Assin Central was what was created, because initially we had Assin North and Assin South. In that 2012, after the creation of Assin Central, the NDC won it. By 2016, they had lost it. People may have argued that was part of the wind of change, but the figures from 2020 would show you that probably if the NPP had put in the right candidate, they could have won it. So the incumbency advantage favors the NPP. Today you've seen the developmental projects in Assin North all of a sudden, and if anybody tells you they do not matter, I am sorry, they do matter. It's the reason you hear John Dramani Mahama make the point that, look, when they bring you money, take the money, but don't vote for them. Because incumbency advantage and money really, really matters in an election. 3, James Jachikwesing himself presents a certain advantage and disadvantage to the NPP. This is the point. Now, once James Jachikwesing puts himself up for election, or has put himself up for election, the NPP's argument is this. He says, over the period, they've been persecuting me. Okay, not prosecuting, persecuting me, hence my inability to function effectively as a member of parliament. Now, the counter-argument is, no, hold on a minute, is the laws that have actually been used on this man. But if he tells you that because of his court cases, he's not been able to perform effectively as a member of parliament, then note that even if he wins, he's still not done with the court cases and could probably find himself in jail. Now, this is what this does. This is somebody who's campaigning and saying, I'm actually going through all these challenges because of what I've been going through in the court. And you're being reminded that, oh, then he's not done yet with the court. Because if this is what he's going through, in fact, now he's going to be on a daily basis. So he's even going to go to court some more than he's been going to court in the past. He would have no chance whatsoever, no time whatsoever on his hands to perform his functions as a member of parliament. That in itself, for some of the, electorates would say, why should we be the only people who are not going to have a member of parliament? How about we vote for another person who's going to get in there and will not be faced with a similar situation? But this is the advantage to the NDC here. So this man comes into the community, contests and wins elections. And they say, this man right from the get-go was targeted by the NPP. In fact, on the day, on the 6th of January 2021, when Parliament was being sworn in, the NPP members actually secured an injunction. So right from the get-go, they have targeted this man. They are the reason why he has not been able to function effectively. But if you vote for him this time around, show them that you, the people of Assin North, actually love James Jachikwesing and you would want him to serve you. The NDC also comes into this with a point to prove. Now, as you may have heard John Dramani Mahama make the point that this is more of a referendum. They could be telling the delegates, and the delegates would want to prove, the electors would want to prove a point to the government and say, enough, okay, enough of all the sufferings we've been through. So whatever you do, we are still going to vote for the NDC in the person of James Jachikwesing. Now, I've talked about Assin Breku, but one of the things that many of you may not be aware is the settler communities, some of whom are ever speaking, and particularly the Dangme speaking group in Assin North. Now, where will these people vote? Can the NPP increase their votes in there? If the NPP increases their vote in the settler communities, particularly in the Dangme areas, then about 7 or 8 communities that are Dangme in Assin Breku, in Assin North constituency. If the NPP is able to increase their votes there, you probably would say the elections do not look good for the NDC. However, if the NDC is able to maximize or improve their performance in those areas also, you would see the situation where you'd say, no, it doesn't look good for the NPP. Whatever happens tomorrow in the Assin North constituency, I say, based on all the analysis that I have done, that while it is going to be a close election, while this is a swing constituency, it is becoming very difficult for the NDC to win the election. Also because of how the NDC itself has, conducted its campaign. One of the things they've done, a lot of the young people who have gone in there to campaign, is to showcase everything that they're doing on the ground. And if you're an opposition party which doesn't have the largesse of the state with you, when you go into a campaign, you just don't go there, okay, showcasing everything. You just don't go there telling people all your strategies and whatever you do. So social media campaign in most of these instances just don't work for the party that does not have a lot of money. I'll tell you something. In 2003, okay, when Kofi Asante resigned from Parliament, the NDC went into that election at the time, and as evidence from that constituency has shown, the NDC has been able to win it subsequently, that in a by-election, an incumbent government or party can do so many things just to win it. And it is that incumbency advantage that I say favors the NPP going into the election tomorrow. I see the NPP winning this election. I say it will be very difficult for the NDC. But of course, these are elections and anything can happen.